Florida Today is moving out of its flagship building on US 1 and into a new one in Viera. The colossal building has a lot of history in Brevard County. Our move is symbolic of the changes in the journalism industry. Welcome to Florida Today's I Am Brevard. I'm Isadora Rangel. Today I'll interview Executive Editor Mara Bellaby about what's next for Florida Today and how we're making sure we stay committed to watchdog journalism and serving our communities. Mara has covered the Kremlin and Russia for the Associated Press, and now her mission is to expand the footprint of local news. Mara, welcome back on the show.
Thank you.
So I interviewed you months ago when you first became Florida Today's executive editor, and we're sitting here in the Florida Today building right off US 1 for the last time, because we're going to be moving into a new building in Viera sometime in
October, towards the end of October.
Yes, and for a lot of people, this building has been, part of the history of the county. It's a flagship building. It's huge. It's colossal, right on US 1. So I wanted to get you on the show to talk about Florida Today moving, and let's begin with, why are we moving?
Right. Well, a couple of years ago when we moved our printing press down south, having a building of this size just stopped making sense. It's for those of our audience who've been in here, for those of us who work here, it's huge. And as we've gotten smaller and more focused digitally, just having all this space is, it's just not necessary anymore. And, so across the company, really Gannett is moving away from these big real estate holdings and putting the focus on the journalism, especially the digital work. And so we're part of it, and our move is coming up.
And to be clear, newspapers across the country are doing that. They're downsizing, moving into smaller spaces. And for those who don't know, the reason why we moved our printing operations is when Gannett acquired Journal Media, which owns the state-of-the-art press in St. Lucie West. So now all of our papers are being printed there. And that is something in the industry that's so common, the consolidation of companies buying other companies. Talk about that. It's ever changing. Like being in this industry, I feel there's no certainty of what's going to happen next.
The only certainty is change. I think we've all been through so much change, and it's just part of life now. From the beginning, it was just the real advent of social media and how we use social media, and really focus on video and digital, and it's constant. It's kind of constantly reinventing how we deliver what we do. I think the one consistency is it's always for us about, as you know so well, about the journalism. It's about the being watchdogs. It's about holding those in power accountable, the storytelling. It's just kind of the means to do it is ever evolving. And the companies that we work for are changing, consolidating, but at the end of the day, it's really for all of us about good journalism.
Yeah, so we will be moving to Viera, right off of Viera Boulevard, close to US 1, for those who want to go and check out the building. It's a brand new building, which I'm really excited about. The bathrooms are going to be beautiful and clean, and it's going to smell like new. And just because we're moving to a smaller building doesn't mean that we're going to cover Brevard any less. But explain, what is our mission here in Brevard County? What is Florida Today's main goal?
Right. Our goal is really, the core of it is holding those in power accountable. That's that's what really the community depends on journalists to do. I think it's also about celebrating the community and their successes. It's about pointing out issues, problems. It's really, so it's all encompassing, but it is that accountability is just so critical to what we do. And so, yeah, even though we're going to be in a smaller place, we'll be cozier. It'll be, like you said, new. We have added staff, as you know, just even in my short time as being executive editor. And definitely digital is huge. We see continually growing numbers on that. So I think we're in a really good place. I think change is inevitable. I'm sure we'll see more. Some of it, let's be honest, some of it is painful. People like things the same, and you just kind of get in. But I'm definitely excited about it, and I'll miss this building. But I'm not. We have people here who've been here for really since it opened.
I know.
And you know, and I think
1986 is when this building opened.
So it's not me. I don't think I ever really fell in love with this building. So I'm like,
either.
you know, I want to pay respect to those who really did, and it is. I mean, it is set in a beautiful setting. I mean, I have, you know, out my office, the view is amazing, and so I like that. But people who've been in my office know that I think no matter what office I've had, I've almost never put anything on the walls or really done much with it. I'm kind of very transient in that sense. So, so to me, it's not about the building or where we are. It's really about who we are and what we're about. And I think the people that make up Florida Today are such a passionate and committed group who really, I mean, you know, want the best for Brevard County. And so, you know, whether we're working here in our new building, before we were here, we were at what's now the Cocoa Library. You know, that's just kind of the place around it. But I know there'll be, I mean, I know that for sure there's lots of memories here, lots of amazing journalism has been done, lots of, I mean, when you're a group of journalists, right, you're, I mean, I think it sounds cliche to say, but it is kind of that family feeling, and you really do go through things, and you yell at each other and scream at each other and laugh and cry, and so I think, you know, so the memories are definitely, I think, running really strong now.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned watchdog and holding people accountable. You've been here for just over 10 years at Florida Today. What are some of the big stories that we did that kind of exemplify what you're talking about? I'm thinking about the Palm Bay investigation into the Homes for Warriors program, which showed that they were mismanaging the program. What are some of the really milestones that we've had?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely been a big one. You know, I'm really proud of what we've done with Murder on the Space Coast, and I think putting those stories out there and you know, hoping that you know, we see an impact, and I think we do, just in informing people about what's going on. And then beyond some of the watchdog, I mean, I was really proud of our Apollo coverage. I thought that was, because I think it's super important that the community understand that not only, you know, should we be out there kind of calling out wrongs and pointing that out, but we have to celebrate as well. And
absolutely.
And we have to do both to really be successful. And I think Apollo was a great chance for us to really stand back. And I mean, almost everything we did was like an applause to just the amazing accomplishments. So I was really proud of that. I've been really proud of Britt Kennerly's The Long Goodbye series, some of the stuff we did with, you know, Aging Alone. I mean, like a journalist, my memory, I feel like, is really short. It's always like, what was the last thing we did?
I think you've hit the big ones. And I'm excited that we talk about downsizing, but we actually have hired new people, including an investigative reporter. So really excited to see what's going to happen, because investigations take a lot of time, but they are really,
they're critical. And
what makes us important.
The community really depends on us for that. And I think, you know, as you read studies nationwide, I mean, you can see what happens when there isn't a newspaper or like just a local news site really aggressively reporting. I mean, oftentimes even taxes go up, things start to happen. And I mean, as I meet with people in the community, I'm often told sometimes it's just enough at some of these meetings for someone to say, like, what if Florida Today finds out? To kind of direct the conversation in a certain way. So, so yeah, I'm excited. We have a lot of really powerful stuff coming. Nothing that I can really talk about at this stage, but it's all really exciting. But it, you know, it takes time and it takes support, and that's why we're really grateful to everyone who subscribes. I think that's you know, really important, because journalism is not free. We all have you know, homes. We have to eat. We have to you know, we have expenses. So you know, the people who subscribe are really critical.
Yes, and if people want to subscribe, they should go to FloridaToday.com/subscribe.
Right.
Yes, so it's nice to have it on the screen too. Yes, but it is. And the one thing is, like, when people think of news, they think of national news. They might think of the New York Times or CNN, Fox News. But a lot of people don't understand why local news is so important. So as someone who's running Florida Today, why is local news so important? And a lot of times even more important than national news,
Right.
because we're the only outlet that covers Brevard the way we do.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, I think you just said it right there.
Yeah.
And it's there are so many outlets and so many ways to get that national coverage or even the state coverage. But to really get robust and fair coverage of Brevard County, I mean, we're the ones providing that. And I think, you know, local, I mean, it impacts so much of your life. I mean, people spend a lot of time, of course, talking about what Trump says or what he tweets or, you know, national policies. And of course, I mean, I'm a former foreign correspondent, so personally, I think it's, you know, hugely important what happens on that international scale. But really, for impact on you, it's what your school board's deciding. It's what's happening at the county commission. It's, you know, those planning board meetings. I mean, that's where it's at. It's your local police department. It's your court system. And so, I mean, that's why. Yeah, I think local news is just is critical, and you know, I know we're all really proud to be part of that.
Yeah, and interesting, in the last couple of years, we've gotten a lot of pushback from some politicians who Commissioner Brian Lober has called us the enemy. I believe State Representative Randy Fine has used similar language on social media about us. People trying to label us as the enemy. The president calls the media the enemy of the people. How do you explain to people in Brevard, you know, why we're not the enemy?
Right. I mean, you know, for me personally, since I took on this job, one of the things I've really tried to do is meet with people individually and just have that personal conversation. I know I can't meet with the entire community, but some of the decision makers, and that I find is very, it's very helpful because it's so easy. I mean, we all know in social media it's so easy to go on and be that keyboard warrior and fire something off. But once you get a chance to have that conversation and talk, and I mean, calling us the enemy, I mean, we're, you know, as I said before, I mean, we live here, we work here, we love this community. I mean, our goal is we all want what's best for Brevard County. And there's different ways to achieve that. You achieve that by, you know, running a very, like through the police force. You achieve that through decisions the county commission makes, the school board. You also achieve that through very robust journalism. We're one of those tools. But the aim, I think, of all of us is the same. So, you know, even when we report, you know, ways that some of our investigative reports are ways that could be construed as, you know, an aggressive or negative report on someone. I mean, I don't consider any of those politicians or anyone the enemy. It's we're doing our job, and they have a job to do, and our jobs sometimes come into conflict, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and that's, I think, for any news outlet to always be friends with politicians,
Right.
there's something wrong, you know,
Right.
like you're probably not doing your job right if every
Exactly.
politician, you know, loves you. I mean, I think they should. It's great when they respect your work.
And to have that dialogue, I mean, that's one
Yeah.
of the conversations I try to make. And I don't know that we've always done such a good job of that, but, you know, I have no interest, I mean, nor should I, of being anyone's friend or buddy. It's, but I do want to have that open dialogue. I do want to be, you know, there to talk and talk things through because, you know, I welcome the scrutiny of what we do. I mean, and I think just as important is for us to scrutinize what public agencies do and public officials and elected officials, but go ahead and scrutinize us, you know? I mean, I'm totally, I want that. I don't mind those phone calls. I don't mind those discussions because, you know, our aim is to be fair, to be unbiased, to not to do a he said, she said, but to make sure the stories have the right context, that we really are, you know, conveying to the reader something that then they can use to make their own decisions. So I'm very comfortable with people, you know, taking a hard look at that. Like there was someone who, I know I'd sent you an email on this, who complained about cartoons and said it looks like your political cartoons are too often on you know, anti-Trump, and you know, I said no. I really, you know, we strive hard at balance, and so he said, well, I'm going to check it myself, and spent I think a few weeks, 3 or 4 weeks checking, and wrote back and said, you're right, you are balanced, you know, and I welcome that. Sometimes it turn out that we're wrong, and you know, we're human. We are sometimes, and we will issue corrections. We will do that. So the scrutiny is something that I definitely welcome.
Yeah. So. I guess you're saying that people should be calling you and emailing you more often.
I know. I'm just saying, like, don't call me. But no, but I do think it's important that we don't ever pretend or try to be, you know, like
they were
sort of
above
like that we're above that, or in some like ivory tower. I mean, it's not what it's about. It's you know, just as we our job is to hold people accountable. I mean, they should look at what we do, and if we get it wrong, let us know. I'm not always going to say, oh yeah, you're right, I agree with you, but I always welcome the discussion, and that's why I think even since I've had this job, I've really welcomed to sit down with people who have disagreed with us in the past, and those have been great conversations. I've really enjoyed them.
Yeah, once you sit down with people and you're face to face with them, people are a lot different, like you said, than they are on social media, for example. But one of the things that the media overall, like, that we're facing is us being labeled as leftists or being anti-Trump or being anti-conservatives. What do you say? Because I'm sure that that's something you hear every time you meet with somebody.
No, it definitely comes up. And I mean, one of the things I go back to, I mean, our job is to hold those in power accountable. In Brevard County, most people in power are Republicans. Whether you look at the county commission, the constitutional officers, many of the city councils, right? So. So we are doing our job. We are not picking on Republicans. We are holding those in power accountable. If it was the other way, we would be doing the same. And I mean, one of the things that I love so much about Civility Brevard is I know that sounds like I made a weird twist to that, but
Civility Brevard is a project that we started.
Brings together, is that it does bring the opportunity to have conservative Republicans and the Democrats, liberal, I don't know, if just Democrats, liberal Democrats or whatever, but to bring them together. And I love hearing that feedback and hearing from, you know, from both sides and being able to kind of think and talk through that because, you know, I think that's important.
No, absolutely. The one thing that kind of bothers me is that when people group us with national media, you know, when CNN does something or the Washington Post, it reflects on the entire industry, and that's something that's hard to explain to people. That first, we don't cover Trump unless he comes to town, unless he's in Orlando for a rally or some kind of event. And it is like, it's very hard to explain to people that what we do is so different than what other news outlets do, and then we're not all this homogenous group of people, right?
No, it is. I think it is really hard, and I think, and I mean, and I think we have to accept that right now there is a high level of distrust of the media, and so that's why I think it is our job to, you know, to answer those phone calls and emails as best, you know, we can, to get out and talk to people. Our engagement events that you're spearheading with our reporters, I think those are all really important for people to get a chance to kind of meet us and see who we are, and to build that connection.
And our next engagement event is with our space team at Playa Linda Brewery in Titusville.
There's
going to be space trivia. The tickets include 2 beers and hors d'oeuvres, so I'm really excited about that. And let's talk about space, because we have 3 space reporters, which is the most we've had since I've been here. Space is kind of our bread and butter. We're so unique here in Brevard. What are some of the things that we're covering right now in the space arena?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is focused, you know, on the growing commercial sector and what we're seeing developments there, like the Blue Origin facility, the things SpaceX is doing. You know, there's plans again to return manned or crewed, however you want to phrase it, missions next year from the U.S. soil. So that's really exciting. I think, you know, our space team is being challenged to do more watchdog and investigative work, as all of our reporters are. You know, we're kind of brainstorming around new video opportunities there, but yeah, I think having that 3-person space team is really important, because we're just going to see not only the number of rocket launches go up, but also the importance, like higher profile ones. And I just think overall in the community, we've really seen growth there, and it's important that we are covering that.
Yeah, and the commercial space industry, I never really followed space much, but just to see all the innovation, and we have these really intelligent and smart and ambitious people in our backyard, like Elon Musk at SpaceX and Jeff Bezos at Blue Origin. And to me, that's just, every time I think about it, it's kind of unbelievable that we're here.
I know, it's cool that they have, there are some operations here, and it's, and I still love, I love walking outside and watching a rocket launch, and yeah, just their presence, and not only that, I think, you have the big players, but I think one of the things we'll be looking more at is then the spin-off, all the other companies that supply them, and what impact that has on the community. I think Brevard is really poised and to keep growing, which brings its own issues, but also is really exciting, and so I think we're very poised to cover all that.
Yeah, and beyond space, Space Coast is not just space. People in Palm Bay are not connected to the space program, for example. We're really long county, so we have so many issues, but what are the top issues that come to mind in Brevard?
I would say a big one is infrastructure, and our continuing challenges around funding that, and
the huge backlog that we have for roads.
Exactly, and then. You're making me draw a blank all of a sudden. The lagoon. I'm like, the lagoon, of course, water issues are ongoing. And in fact, I can't remember who I was talking to, but wanted to try paddle boarding and went out on the Banana River, and it was just so mucky and gross. And that's a shame. And so Jim Weimer does such a good job of covering that, and really, and I know that's that's of huge importance to everyone here. I think from just how our government functions is a key one, and we do spend a lot of time covering that, and sometimes that can turn into kind of spats back and forth, but I think it's really important for the community to understand how the people they elected are governing, the kind of decisions they're making, the things they're pushing. So we definitely devote a lot of time to that as well. And then, but what I love about us is we also have a huge and robust coverage around food,
Yes.
And with 321 Flavor, and we're coming up on our Flavor Month in October. So that's all really exciting.
I know, all these restaurants opening. I live close to Viera, so I go there all the time. There are a few new places that are delicious. But you've been here for a long time. How have you seen Brevard grow? Even if it's just more restaurants and better food, but in 2011, people thought the Space Coast was that it was it for us when the shuttle program ended. How have you seen Brevard progress?
I feel like there's a lot more excitement about Brevard now, because there was definitely that kind of feeling after the shuttle program ended of like, what's going to happen? One thing, I still think it's minimal here, but I have noticed out somewhere hearing some more foreign languages spoken, which I think is exciting.
Have you heard any Russian? Because I know you speak Russian.
No, I have. Well, no, I don't think I have heard Russian. but yeah, I think, and I feel like Brevard also has more younger people than it did, and I don't know. I guess I don't really know if that's true, but it feels like it does, right? But overall, I'd say just the feeling of whether you're in Cocoa Village or Melbourne or O'Galley or in Titusville, there's just kind of more is happening.
Yeah.
I think it's just summing it up that way at Cocoa Beach. It's just that feeling of, wow, things are happening.
Yeah, the one thing I say is that there are things to do in Brevard. You just got to look for them. It's not as obvious as downtown Orlando, but there are, and I agree with what you said about young people. I've only been here for just over 2 years, but I moved here believing that this was going to be a sleepy retirement community, and I've been so pleasantly surprised that we have all these engineers moving here to work at Harris, people with building bombers and really complicated things that I don't even know what they are, but I think that's the really exciting part as a journalist.
To
be covering all that.
No, it definitely is. I love that Brevard is not. I know it has its retirement community aspect, but I love that it is not just a retirement community. That is so much more, because that definitely makes it far more exciting.
Yeah, but obviously we're talking about all these great things, but I think people watching know how the journalism industry has experienced a lot of turmoil, a lot of downsizing. You could look at newspapers across the country, smaller staffs, all of that. How is that? How do we keep doing what we do? How do we continue to do Watchdog when we have fewer people than we did just a decade ago?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, of course, and I think it's prioritizing, and it's really focusing on, the stories that matter. I mean, one thing that we have to, keep in mind is we still have to meet our very high standards, our ethical standards, our high standards of sourcing. So I think in some cases we're perhaps slower with the bigger investigative projects, but we want to make sure we get it right. And in this particular climate, when there is distrust, I mean, that's critical. It's always been critical, but even I think more so now. So, I think it really comes down to prioritizing and probably to some degree making sure that you have the right people on the staff, which I think we do, but it's why we were very careful when we were hiring people who really have that passion and that commitment to it. I mean, journalism is not an easy industry to be in. There is a lot of heartache.
It's not as glamorous as it looks.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, and it's hard, and change is constant, and but you have these stories and these moments where the community is counting on you.
Yeah.
I mean, they are counting on you, and they're rooting you on, and sometimes they're angry at you, but the information that you're giving them is just so critical. And and I think you know that, and you hear it, and you see it. And I mean, what I love is not only for the people, if you're going to call or email me, to call and email to argue about something, which is fine, but I love it when the people call or email to say, like, wow, well done on that, thank you. And there is a lot of that too. And I mean, that is just, it just feels so good, and it's another kind of reassuring sign that, what we're doing is really important, it really matters. So, it's a hard industry, but it's so important. It's a mission. It's mission work. I think that's the truth.
To me, it is, and like you said, there's nothing better than getting an email saying, "Thank you for writing about this." Absolutely, Mara. Actually, our time is up.
Oh wow!
So I want to thank you for being
thank
here,
you.
and I'm excited to move into our next building.
That'll be fun. Thanks, Isadora.
Thank you. That's I Am Brevard for today. Go to floridatoday.com to rewatch the show and for more local news. Thank you for watching.
When it comes to space, it all starts here. I have always been taught to reach for the stars. I'm only limited by my imagination. The world is at my fingertips.
Download the 321 Launch app and introduce your child to a universe of exploration.